And we are live. What's going on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube Live? It's your man, Coach Rowe, coming to you. Today is Wednesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. And if it is Wednesday, you should know what that means. It's time for the Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping straight into it. Today's topic is that's not today's topic. I don't know why it does this to me when I guess I don't save things sometimes. Today's topic is BAM refreshers. As always, I like to share what I mean by my topic refreshers. What do I mean by the topic refreshers? What I mean by the topic refreshers is that sometimes in our lives, we will learn something and we'll set that lesson down. It could be a skill, it could be like a physical skill, playing the piano is something I used to know how to do, or it could just be like an intellectual lesson that we learn, and we will set that lesson down and never revisit again. And then when the time comes for us to use the things that we've learned from that lesson, what ends up happening is it's a little difficult to recall them. So we end up kind of going through this refresher experience all over again. And so, really, today's topic is going to be about how we kind of have this need to continually interact with the lessons that we learn. So, as always, I have three tools for the first row that I want to share with you this evening regarding refreshers. Let's jump straight into it. Tool number one when it comes to refreshers is get recertified. As I was thinking about this tool, I was thinking about a couple of things that I've experienced in my life. Number one, I used to have a babysitter's license. Number two, to get the babysitter's license, I had to learn CPR. I probably was 13 years old maybe 14 years old when I had my babysitter's license. And to know CPR, for me at least, at 14 years old, I knew the ABC method: clear the airway, initiate breathing or give breaths, and then do chest compressions. Well, in 2010, that order changed. It changed from ABC to CAB: chest compressions first, then clear the airways, then work on providing air for CPR. So it changed how it works. And when I started thinking about this topic, refreshers, I was thinking about how many things in my life have changed. Not, I mean, that's not a dramatic change, but it is a procedural change. How many things in my life have procedurally changed? And not only procedurally changed, how many things have I changed? How many things in my life have changed because of my intellectual competency now where I am? A lot of times when we're dealing with these refreshers, we will pick up things, sometimes tools that service a purpose in the moment. So like for me as a kid growing up, the tool that served me a purpose that kept me from being bullied was anger, rage, temper tantrums. Nobody really wanted to mess with me because nobody wanted to mess with the boy who would wild out on you. And so I picked that tool up, and then I carried that tool. And unfortunately, I was refreshing that tool. I didn't recertify. We're going to be clear, there's a difference. But I was refreshing that tool over and over again. It was like, okay, great. That worked in that battle, on to the next battle. That worked in that battle, on to the next battle. That worked in that battle, on to the next battle. And so I'm refreshing this tool of temper tantrums and anger and violence. I'm refreshing it, but I never really went back to fully get it recertified. Because had I went back to get it recertified when I was much more intelligent, much more capable of managing emotions and actually utilizing other paths of emotions other than just anger, I would have probably changed it procedurally. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I was just having a conversation with my son today. I said, um, I'm never going to put your I'm never going to put in this sense, I'm never going to put you before me as it relates to my mental health. If I need to be in a mental clear space in order to make good decisions or do whatever I need to do in the course of my life, I'm never going to put him before that. I said, however, if while we're having this conversation, somebody kicks in the door and our lives are in jeopardy, I will absolutely put myself between you and that person. The difference being that if I put you between you and my mental health, then I'm on a lose-lose. I got to combat against myself and lose either my mental health or myself to protect you, and that's not going to serve either of us. Now, if I put ourselves between me and another a physical assailant, then that's different, because if I win, we win. It's not I win, we lose, or I win, you lose. It's not I lose, I lose. So in the recertification process, getting recertified, really what that is, it's about going back over the things that you have learned, and the lessons that you are carrying with yourself today, and checking them to see if they need to be readjusted, to see if they need to be tweaked. Sometimes you'll get to a process or a procedure and you're like, you know what, I need to throw this whole thing out and start all over. They call it sometimes throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but sometimes you got to at least throw the bathwater out if the bathwater is filthy. And so that's really where that recertification comes in at for us, or for me, is it gives us an opportunity to realize that things may change. Um, and then not only may things change, we have the opportunity to restructure them in a way that does work for us if the way that used to work no longer works. And I think that's the trick to this with this particular tool, is when we get recertified, something may have worked for us at a time, at a moment, in a different era. That's what I'm finding out right now in life with just the generation that is after our generation. Things are different for them. They do things that I sincerely do not understand. However, things are changing, and in that change, it requires agility and adaptation in order to be able to utilize the lessons that you have from your past. So that's tool number one. Get recertified. Sometimes you'll change the process, sometimes it'll still be the same, but at least you'll have that refresher moment. Tool number two, when it comes to refreshers, is keep your mind ready. Oh my gosh, keep your mind ready. I don't even know. I, all I can think of when I say this is what my uncle always says: you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. The purpose of refreshers is that we are continually interacting with whatever this skill may be. Maybe, like I said, it may be a physical skill, it may be a mental skill, but continually interacting with it allows your mind to stay at the ready for when you truly need to call upon it. So thinking about like meditation and calm, like continually interacting with meditation and calm will put you in a better space to deal with stress, anxiety, adversity, and things of that nature than, oh, I meditated once back in 1990 and now it's 2022 and you haven't meditated and you're wondering why you can't uh, silence your mind or quiet your mind, in the sense of it's all so many thoughts going on, so many thoughts going on there to date, because I think so much. There's so many thoughts that come in my head in the course of one day. Shoot, in 1 hour, there's so many thoughts that come into my head that I'm continually interacting with meditation in order to just practice being present, to practice being mindful, to practice being engaged with the current moment, instead of allowing my mind to run wild into the future, because that's where it typically runs. Every once in a while it'll run to the past, but for the most part, it typically is trying to run to the future. And I've learned through engaging with that and those refreshing moments that I have with practicing my meditation, I've learned that, for me at least, I guess I should say, I've learned that for me, what that does is it puts me in a space to where I'm able to quiet my mind faster. Doesn't mean that my mind doesn't go wherever it wants. Sometimes I'll be getting ready to go to sleep and my mind's like, oh, did you think about this? And did you think about that? This. And 60 thoughts later, I'm like, okay, I got to go to sleep. It's not that that doesn't happen, but because of the fact that I'm keeping my mind ready by practicing or refreshing my meditation techniques, what happens is, again, my mind is able to execute and act a lot faster in silencing all that extra stuff. I also think about, like, even if it's not a mental skill set, it can be like a physical skill set, or a tangible skill set that you may have. So, like for myself, I think about the contrary side of making sure that my mind is ready. Um, from the perspective of when I used to play the piano by ear. When I used to play the piano by ear, I was constantly listening to songs and music and listening to each part of the song and thinking in my mind where that appeared on the piano, and then physically playing it. And, oh, that doesn't sound right. Oh, I need to move this finger here. And I would pick and poke and prod at these songs in order to figure them out. And I got really, really good at playing by ear. But then the thing is I stopped playing by ear. I stopped playing the piano. I mean, I was still listening to music and I was still actually picking out parts, but I wasn't doing the physical mechanics of actually playing on the piano. So a couple things happened. Number one, my mind was not ready to know. My mind did not have the same level of knowledge of what each key sounded like because I had been so far away from actually pressing the keys themselves. That was the first thing that happened. But then my mind also was not ready in the sense of the fatigue that your fingers will feel. Or I guess not even just my mind, my physical body wasn't ready for the fatigue that I felt like. It almost felt like the burning sensation of carpal tunnel. My mind wasn't ready for playing the piano as long periods of time as I was playing it before when I first started playing. And so these refreshers they can be on a mental side, they can be on a physical side, they can be on all sides, on any side that you can think of, anything that you have acquired as far as a lesson over the course of your life. These refreshers, the purpose of them is to keep your mind ready so you don't have to get ready. It's like going for me to the gun range and practicing shooting my gun. Now, I hopefully never have to shoot my gun in a sense where I need to be extremely accurate because I'm not doing like marksmanship classes or anything like that. However, in the event that I do need to shoot my gun and need to be accurate when I shoot it, I take enough time practicing with it so that way I'm refreshed on the operation of the gun. Because especially if you're in the process where you have to shoot a gun and you're not planning to shoot a gun and you have to shoot a gun, it's probably an anxiety filled, stressful moment. And if you haven't refreshed enough that skill set, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong. So that's tool number two. Refreshers help us basically keep our mind at the ready. And then the last thing, or the last tool that I want to share with you this evening is refreshers. It reinforces your learning. When we're dealing with refreshers, it reinforces our competencies. Think about when you're in school, you're in elementary school, and you're doing math. And I mean, you start off typically elementary school math starts off with addition, and it's like 1 plus 1, and it's like 2. And the first time you're like, okay, 1 plus 1, 1, 2, that's 2. Then you take a test and it's like 1 plus 1, and you're like 3. Don't know why you're like 3, but you're like 3. Then you get that answer wrong, and it's like, oh, that's right, it was 2. But you interact with it enough to where by the time you're my age, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 2, 4. Like all of a sudden you get better and better with it. But imagine you just stop doing addition for like 30 years. You haven't done addition for 30 years. You might actually have to think a little bit over like what's 1 plus 1? 2. Like you might still get 2, you might still get the answer right, but your ability to rapidly answer that question, not almost be on autopilot on your answer of that question, can be a little delayed. And so this is why refreshers are important, because refreshers, when they're reinforcing our learning, they're keeping us sharp. They're keeping us on what I would call the cutting edge. However, when we don't refresh often enough, think about if you're old enough, think about the internet when it first came out and you had to like dial into the World Wide Web. Think about how stale the information on the page could be from the time that you clicked it and it loaded up to your page to the time that you're actually reading it. Refreshers reinforce our learning in a similar way, not in the stale way, but they keep us to where our information is current, our practice is current, our understanding is current, our understanding is relevant. It's almost like if you were out in the garden and you were digging with a spoon because that's what somebody told you a shovel was, and then you refresh and somebody gives you an actual hand shovel and you're now digging the soil with a hand shovel, you're going to be much more efficient. You're going to have actually a better garden, maybe not better, but you're going to put a lot less work in. You're going to be more efficient in the garden that you're developing. This is what refreshers do, is they reinforce that sharpness in our learning. They reinforce that I would even say vigor in our learning and our ability to apply the things that we have learned. One of the things that I've come across recently in a refresher in my new role has been that I didn't realize when I was in this moment of not refreshing that my operating cadence had slowed down because I had become so proficient at my job that it was like, I'm not as motivated as I was to figure everything out. I really know a lot about the organization. I know a lot about my role. You can come to me as a subject matter expert. And that kind of slowed me down. I kind of took my foot off the gas. I think there's a Wednesday word about that. I took my foot off the gas and my vehicle slowed down. And then when I got into a new environment that's moving and I don't know everything and I'm struggling to figure out how to build the raft in the middle of the lake, then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, this used to be who I was every single day, was hustle grind, hustle grind, hustle grind, hustle grind. And so now that I'm getting back to that, it took me a while to ramp up, but the ramp up didn't take as long because there was still at least enough refresher content in my life for me to be able to say, okay, I'm ready to tackle these challenges. I'm ready to get at it. And so this is why I say refreshers will reinforce your learning. And the more that we refresh, the more frequently we refresh, the more often we refresh, the more ready we will be, the more ready our minds will be, but the more ready our ability will be as well in regards to the things that we have already learned. And I will leave you with this in this particular tool: the importance of refreshing when it comes to reinforcing your learning is eventually, if we don't refresh, um, the information that you have can be obsolete. The ability that you were using can be obsolete. The mental fortitude that you had can be obsolete if you're not refreshing and you're not revisiting the lessons that you've learned over your lifetime. So that's what I have for you as far as the tools. As always, really quick, let's go over the tools one more time. Tool number one when it comes to refreshers is get recertified. Remember, things change. Sometimes procedurally they change, sometimes mentally, sometimes physically. But either way, when things change, if you're constantly getting recertified, you'll be aware of those changes much faster than if you wait until the situation comes up. Tool number two is keeps your mind at the ready, or it keeps your mind ready. Refreshers will keep your mind ready to tackle the challenges that you're inevitably going to face. Let me tell you, I wish I could explain the level of challenge that I am facing this week alone. This week alone, tons and tons of challenges. However, because I'm constantly refreshing, first off, first row requires me to refresh quite a bit, but because I'm constantly refreshing, I'm handling those challenges a little better. Not perfectly by any means, but better. And then tool number three, again, is it reinforces your learning. Refreshers are going to bring those lessons from the past that you've learned, those hard fought lessons in some cases that you've learned from the past, into the future. And really, it helps them evolve along the way. If you're refreshing frequently and often, your refresh I almost said refreshment. Your refreshing cycle will create evolution within the lessons and the knowledge that you do contain. So that's what I have for you guys tonight as far as the Wednesday word. As always, I like to share a personal story with you, something that got me thinking about this particular topic. And really, what got me thinking about this topic was while I was writing out the schedule for Wednesday words. I'm sitting and I'm writing out schedules and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to talk about next week. This is what I want to talk about in 3 weeks. This is where I want to go on the path with this particular cycle of Wednesday words. And I started thinking, like, did I talk about that topic already? Do I already have a Wednesday word on this? And um, this is where refreshers came in, and it came in not only from that perspective, but it's also come in from the perspective of when I'm watching previous Wednesday words, because believe it or not, I actually watch Wednesday words as well. um, but when I was watching previous Wednesday words, and sometimes I'll watch them and I'm like, man, that was a powerful message. And it's not like, oh, Ro, you gave a powerful message, pop your collar, dust your shoulder off. It's not that. It is like, that message that I was presenting at one point spoke to me at the point that I'm in now. It could be a message that I did a year ago. It could be a message that I did 3 months ago. But either way, it is a refresher for me to look at that and say, man, I don't know why I allowed that lesson that I learned, or that tool that I shared. I don't know why I allowed that to slip back into the background. I'm glad I watched that Wednesday word. And so as I was thinking about Wednesday word content and being concerned about, well, I don't want to really do repeat content, I immediately said, wow, well, it's actually okay to do repeat content because not everybody has seen every Wednesday word. And even if they have, if there is no refresh to that process, then some of these lessons that really resonated with people, that really grabbed people's attention or really helped people in their lives, some of those lessons get kind of lost in the shuffle. And so that's what I really started thinking about. Hey, what's going on, mom? That's what I really started thinking about in the aspect of why it's okay to refresh, why it's okay to repeat, why it's okay to pick back up those old lessons, dust them off, and read them over again and see if they still are pertinent to your life or pertain to your life in this moment, or if you can update them and make them even better. And in a sense, when you do refresh and you make your processes better, inevitably you make yourself better. So that's what got me thinking about this. I'm so glad you guys were able to tune in live. Mama Francine, I'm so glad you were able to tune in live as well. But I thank you guys for tuning in live. As always, if you have not already, go to the First Row website, www.firstrow.com, 1stwroe.com, and get your copy of Fire Your Job, Hire Your Passion. If you don't know if that's a book you want to read, download the first chapter from the website, and then you'll know if that's a book you want to read. And then, as always, this, though, is the last time I will be on air for this week. You can catch Terrell and Michelle of the Grind to Find podcast on this Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And she always has new content. Her content is fire. I actually had somebody reach out to me a couple weeks ago, and they were like, I finally got a chance to listen to that Grind to Find podcast. And then I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop because her content is that good. And then if you did not catch it last night on Terrell and Michelle and Billy Rowe Live, we are actually going to be moving Terrell and Michelle and Billy Rowe Live to Fridays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next season. So be on the lookout for that change. I'm not sure if it's going to be next week or if it's going to be the week after, or next week or the beginning of season 3 for Terrell and Michelle and Billy Rowe Live. That's the other thing. When we talk about refreshers, we are in season 3 already of Terrell and Michelle and Billy Rowe Live. We just started that this year. It's wild. Anyway, other than that, that's all I have for you guys today. I thank you guys so much for tuning in live. For those who are in the live chat, if you're watching via the replay, thank you. Please leave a comment, like, share, all that wonderful stuff. But until the next time, if you like this video, share it. If you do share it, please like it. I'm always happy to engage with you on any platform that you can find me on at firstrow.com or at firstrow. I always say .com, but at First Row. I'm happy to engage with you on any platform, and I'm happy to engage with you on this content for the first 7 days that it's up. So until the next time, one love, peace, and God bless. Thanks for sitting on the First Row.